Now.
On 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
It's 6:07 Monday morning here, the 23rd day of September. Thanks for tuning in as we hit all the marks you're hoping we'll hit as we talk about this crazy news cycle we're in the middle of. Thanks for joining us on O'Connor and Company. At 6:35, Kurt Schlichter, columnist at Town Hall, will be joining us. He's got a great column today, just hit the presses, about how the assassination attempts on Donald Trump have been completely memory hold. The last one, it was just a week ago yesterday.
Yeah.
And not much about it. 7:05,
it's on purpose.
Joe DeGeneva. 7:35, Neil Parrott running for Congress in Maryland. 8:05, Ned Ryan, new book, American Leviathan, The Birth of the Administrative State and Progressive Authoritarianism. And at 8:35, Washington Post sports reporter talk about tonight's Commanders game. I'm Larry O'Connor. That's Julie Gunlock. Good morning, Julie.
Good morning.
Here we go. So Tim Walz is the governor of Minnesota.
Oh, Tim.
And he wants to be vice president. And he's on the ticket, and based on the latest polls in the battlegrounds, it's terrifyingly close that this guy could be the vice president of the United States. He is
a radical.
He is a radical, and he was at a rally this weekend. And he's a radical, but he likes to pretend that he's a flannel-wearing Midwest
man,
dude, just,
gun-toting.
Was in the National
Regular
Guard, just regular guy.
I cut my own firewood.
That's right. I go to China 30 times. Everybody, wait, that's not really in keeping with the
they don't like to talk about that
persona. And he's done this thing now, and I think this is why they fell in love with him, the Democrats at the national level who wanted him on the ticket, because he does this whole thing. It's like, why don't they mind their own damn business? They're trying to get into our business. They get that government out of my business, right?
Yeah, meanwhile, he's all over people's business.
Oh, look at his behavior during COVID.
Right.
Absolutely,
right.
Of course. But then, so he sort of plumbed this vein, as it were, over the weekend at this rally. And I want you to listen to, put your logic cap on for a minute. Think about what he's about to say here.
I see some of the older folks here can actually remember, and it's like telling the young people, there was a time when Republicans talked about freedom, they actually meant it.
By the way, I'm going to let you finish, Timmy, but let's just be clear here. When it's true, it was sort of a new thing for Republicans to start talking about freedom. It was called the Reagan era. Where up until that point, Republicans' main message was, well, we're really competent in running government, and we won't spend nearly as much as the Democrats. That was a losing formula. Ask Jerry Ford. Ronald Reagan said, no, we're actually radically different than Democrats because we focus on the Constitution, liberties, and freedoms, and if it ain't there, the government shouldn't have their nose in it.
Yep.
And so when Tim Walz says that, I remember when Republicans used to talk about freedom. Let's be clear. Tim Walz and his kind, they hated Reagan.
Oh.
He's acting like, why can't we go back to the good old days when Republicans? No, they hated Republicans for talking about freedom all the time.
Yeah.
So already he's setting up this ridiculous straw man that, those Republicans, those are the ones that I love. Joe Biden does this all the time.
They do this all the time with Romney.
Right? Oh, of course. Oh, gosh. Why they used to?
Ryan,
they used to nominate really good Republicans like Romney.
They accused him of killing grandmother, throwing him off cliffs.
The 80s are looking for their foreign policy back again, Governor. All right. So now let him finish his thought here as he begins the entire thing with a false premise.
In the long ago time, it feels like. Because right now, when they talk about freedom, the freedom of government to be able to invade your bedroom. The freedom of government to invade your exam room. The freedom of government to invade your school libraries and take them. Look, they spend a lot of damn time.
All right, so that's so telling, isn't it? First of all, as we know, the only freedom Democrats care about and progressives and liberals care about is the freedom to kill unborn children. That's why, in your bedroom and in your exam room. I'm guessing in your bedroom is a gay thing. Like, I missed the part where Republicans want to legislate sexual behaviors between consenting adults. But okay, Timmy, whatever. You go with that. I know that you've got your own hangups there.
Yeah.
But then the exam room. It's interesting. Now they want the freedom of the government to get in your exam room. Have you looked at Obamacare? Have you looked at socialized medicine?
Your doctor.
Yeah. But see, they want the government out of your decision to kill your baby, but they want the government to be in every other decision that happens in your exam room.
Timmy wants to take away parents' rights.
Yeah.
He wants the government all in that exam room when you're telling the doctor, no, I don't want my 13-year-old to remove her healthy breast tissue.
Thank you,
right?
yes.
But
So they want the government
Timmy
to
wants
jump
a
in
government
there.
official to go in, you know what? Yeah, government social worker, you're an abusive parent. We're going to take away your rights.
But the best part was this one. They slipped it through.
The freedom of government to invade your school libraries and take it away.
Terry McAuliffe would love to have a word with Tim Walz about what a winning argument this is. All right, so first of all, again, the fact that this man is a governor of one of our 50 states and is just, a whisker away from being vice president is terrifying. Because I hate to tell you this, but by definition, school libraries, at least in the public schools,
who pays for those?
Are in fact government institutions. So that we want the government out of our school libraries.
The freedom of government to invade your school library.
The government runs our school libraries.
Yes, exactly. That's actually part of the problem.
All the books are paid for with government money. The employees, the librarians are government employees.
Maybe Tim is for privatization of all schools.
Right. Hey, okay.
Hey, we'll take it, Tim.
So what he really means, of course, or what's really going on, he doesn't want parents.
It's always back to these parents.
It's not the government invading the school libraries. It's parents daring to have a say about what materials are age appropriate in those school libraries.
Yeah.
But he's now twisted that into these Republicans want government to invade your school libraries.
Yeah.
He's, again, either a liar or a moron. Could be both.
And the audience, my God, cheering along.
Course,
you don't need a lot of brain cells to be excited with what he has to say. But you're absolutely right. And again, you just replace government there with parents. That is what he wants out. That's what he wants out, is not the government. He wants parents
This
out.
is Terry McAuliffe saying that I don't think parents should have a say in what goes on in the libraries. And let's just be clear. When parents go to a school board meeting and they say, listen, there are some things that are age appropriate for our children, and we should have a seat at the table to discuss what materials are there in front of our children, it's Tim Walz's government, it's his party's government who are trying to shut those parents out.
Right.
They would never let parents have a seat at the table to have that discussion. Frankly, I think the parents should have a seat at the head of the table to have that discussion. But it's Tim Walz who uses the government to keep parents down.
Well, and don't forget, look, we have a Department of Justice that has not rescinded its investigation into parents who went to school board meetings and complained during COVID, or at least expressed their concerns. Many of them weren't even complaining. They were just like, can we rethink this? Yeah. And the Justice Department it started investigating those parents. That office is still alive.
Whose Justice Department is that?
That would be Biden's.
That would be Joe Biden's Justice Department under Merrick Garland. So
this is what is going to
continue.
But
Merrick Garland told me that the Justice Department is never political.
Yeah, sure.
Julie.
But this is going to continue. You're voting for
this
guy?
Oh, no, it's going to get worse.
It's going to get worse.
It's going to get much worse. 6:15 WMAL traffic.
Live from the Home Paramount Pest Control Studios.
Home Paramount, the leader in pest control since 1939.
I have a theory about Megyn Kelly. Can I tell you? Remember, she had an afternoon show on Fox News.
I do.
It was a great show.
Yeah,
it was a wonderful show.
Yep.
In fact, she was so popular and so good that they promoted her to a primetime show.
Yep.
When she got her primetime show, see, the people who run Fox News primetime, very, very different than the people who run Fox News middays and mornings. They just approach things differently. And I think that when they had a lineup of O'Reilly and Hannity, and I can't remember who else was before Tucker, I think that they made a point of sort of like, okay, well, we need to, balance things out a little bit, and we got to make sure that, and so Megyn took that cue. And then listen, you take direction from the executives who were giving you millions of dollars to present a news program. She was still right of center, but she was always sort of like the devil's advocate, right? Mm-hmm. She would always sort of push back a little bit. Yeah. She would chime. By the way, so did O'Reilly, too. People, they all get a bad name over there sometimes when they push back, and I get it. Anyway, then when Trump happened and the whole thing happened at the debate, which was, I think that it's fair to say that the editorial perspective at the beginning of the 2015 campaign, if not all the way into the 2016 campaign, was that Trump was sort of not for real and will sort of deal with him until, the grown-up real Republicans show up, right? Like Jeb Bush and Mario Rubio and
Clap,
all that.
please.
Right, exactly. And so because Trump pushed back hard, it became this thing. And Megyn Kelly was the tip of the spear on Fox sort of, pushing back on Trump. That led to her getting a lot of attention at NBC News. NBC News hired her.
Interesting,
right?
Right?
Exactly.
I mean, she was a powerhouse before then, but the minute she
decided she would start pushing back on Trump,
then
the networks love her.
Then she became a darling.
So
right.
NBC throws a ton of money at her, but in her heart, she's still, I think, a right-of-center conservative. NBC News thinks that she's a lib, so that she's going to fit in just fine over here. They give her a show. She starts to do some topics that the woke crowd at NBC doesn't like.
I don't think they thought she was a lib. I think they thought she was going to do Alyssa Farrar. Or a
Caitlin Collins or an Anna Navarro. Sure, you're probably right.
I think they thought that
we'll dangle the money here and she'll play our game.
Yep.
And she didn't. No. And they push back on her. They fire her. They give her a big settlement. And they assumed she was done because Fox News won't take her back.
Right.
So she's going to get her $30 million settlement with the network and she'll just fade off into the sunlight. Then she plugs in a camera and a microphone into her computer. She starts a YouTube channel. And last month, she actually had more views on YouTube than NBC and CBS News combined. And YouTube is the top delivery network for digital video media right now.
Is so good.
And she's free of any of the influences of a corporation saying we want it to sound like this, we want this perspective. She can do whatever she wants.
She's a powerhouse. Yep.
Which brings us to this panel discussion. And let's not forget, Megyn Kelly is a very smart lawyer. She's a lawyer. She began as a legal analyst. So she's sitting there on this panel discussion there's two conservatives, two liberals. And the liberal guy starts talking about all of Trump's convictions. And I want you to hear how Megyn Kelly handled this.
I think Trump on appeal will win. There are so many holes in that case. So
wait. That's not the part I wanted to start with. Sorry. Is it? All right, let's go with it.
I think Trump on appeal will win. There are so many holes in that case. So I don't think Trump will ever do one single day in jail.
So, Megyn, if we look at the 5 cases, 6 months from now, or a year from now, let's assume all 5 of them go to trial. He's guilty of...
By the way, this guy is a lawyer. I forgot to set that up. This guy is a lawyer, just like Megyn. In fact, I think...
said all 5 of them, and now he's going to... So,
3 of them, he's been... What did he say?
He says convicted. Yeah. So, listen.
All right. Very important to point out, though, everyone on this panel are lawyers.
Yeah.
5 of them go to trial. He's guilty of 3 so far.
Wait, what do you mean he's guilty of 3 so far?
Well, he's been convicted of 3, sorry.
What do you mean? No, he hasn't.
I love this. Eugene Carroll was guilty.
That was not a conviction. That was a civil case.
Okay, well, yes, so that's what I'm talking about. So that
but there's a big difference.
It's still he was convicted. He was guilty of that.
No, so again, and this is so important because the word conviction and guilty do not apply in a civil case.
And the media uses this interchangeably all the time.
Yes. You got a settlement. In the Trump organization, they're guilty there.
That, again, was civil, libel.
Yes, of course. But these are the cases we're talking about. And in the third one...
she's a lawyer, right?
Yeah, of course. And in the third one... I'm just talking about the 5 cases. Yes, some are civil, obviously, and some are not. Some are criminal. But if we look at all 5 cases...
You said 3 convictions. Now you're walking it back.
I'm not walking it back. There's 3 in which he was...
You should walk it back.
Okay, I'm so glad Megyn is here.
Of the 5, 3 of them he's...
Isn't that great?
I'm so glad Megyn is here to dispel this because you're absolutely right. This is a lawyer who doesn't think it matters. This kind of language.
Right.
Absolutely.
This is the problem.
Any lawyer would say, no, that's imprecise.
That's right.
Lawyers, if you ever talk to them, they're such sticklers for this stuff. But
this is a problem with the audience because the audience doesn't know. You think you're getting legal analysis, but you're not getting legal analysis. There's more we got to get to.
Either guilty or...
You got a bad result.
Yeah, got a bad result. There are 2 more. If he is found guilty of those 2 more, Megyn, and 5 of 5, he had a bad result. Way to frame it. Will you chalk all 5 up in your mind to 5 different jurisdictions, 5 different prosecutors, 5 different juries and or judges, all conspiring to get him?
100%.
Okay.
Yes.
That's all I wanted to hear your answer to. Five of five different jurisdictions.
Yeah.
You think it's all
E. Jean
lawfare?
Carroll, they changed the law so that she could bring a civil lawsuit against him, and she did. New York went 87% for Joe Biden. That fix was in right from the start. The fraud trial that Letitia James brought against him has never been brought. There's no victims. The banks who were involved said, we didn't lose a penny. What are we doing here? We weren't damaged. Nobody was complaining except Tish James, who ran for office saying, I will get him. Then you have Alvin Bragg, who's a George Soros-funded prosecutor who doesn't like to prosecute any crime in New York City, where I lived for 17 years, except if your name is Donald Trump. Let's go down to Georgia, where Fani Willis and Nathan Wade couldn't keep their libidos in check long enough to actually bring this case against Donald Trump. It's a repeat of what was happening in January 6th up in the case with Judge Chutkan, who loathes Trump and has sentenced almost every J6 defendant to way more jail time than their counterparts would get. Those are falling apart because of presidential immunity, which was handed down by the Supreme Court, who said you cannot bring a criminal case against a sitting president for any official act. Those cases have been gutted.
So brilliant. And there's actually more. She's got one more case to get to, and we'll play it for you a little later in the program at 6:23.
Now on 105.9 FM and streaming worldwide on the WMAL app.
O'Connor and Company.
6:37. We got a busy morning ahead of us. Already been busy, so make sure you check out the podcast so you don't miss anything. Coming up at 7:05, Joe DeGenevo will be here. 7:35, Neil Parrott running for Congress in Maryland. 8:05, Ned Ryan, American Leviathan, a really important book. We'll get to the bottom of the deep state, administrative state, and how to end it. 8:35, sports reporter from the Post on tonight's Commanders Monday Night Football game. It's Larry O'Connor with Julie Gunlock.
Good morning.
Good morning to you, Julie. Joining us right now, senior columnist for Town Hall. He is the author of the scintillating new book, The Attack, which imagines an October 7th style attack here in our country. He's also a lawyer and a retired colonel from the U.S. Army. There's no one else who has that CV other than the one and only Kurt Schlichter. Good morning, Kurt.
Well, it's really weird to be with you at a normal time.
Well,
instead of like 2:30 in the morning.
It's normal.
So,
it's normal for you because you're on East Coast time finally for once in your life.
I'm on East Coast time. I'm staying with a good friend in Maryland.
Yes, that's the even weirder thing. What's weirder is that I'm actually talking to someone sitting in my house right now.
I'm literally in your house and I'm nude.
The call is coming from inside the house. Did he say he was nude?
Yes, he did. You missed it. Yeah.
I did not say that.
Hang on. I got to text a warning to Meredith real fast. And then, Kurt, I read your.
I'm downstairs.
Read your column this morning at Town Hall. I'm not the only one. It's everybody's picking it up. But the headline is so important. Oh yeah, they tried to kill the president. I forgot about that. Yesterday morning on the Sunday shows, it was the first Meet the Press, first This Week, and first Face the Nation since the assassination attempt on Donald Trump last Sunday, because that happened after last week's Sunday shows. It was barely mentioned, Kurt. What's going on with that?
They had to cover, they're eating the dogs, they're eating the cats,
right.
Which is...
but they're actually not covering that. They're covering, they're lying and saying, why did Trump make this up about eating the dogs?
Yeah, look, the regime media is garbage, and we should treat it as such. And that's one of the reasons I love J.D. Vance, because he goes on those shows and he just humiliates them. And they of course enjoy it, much like a bulwark staffer. And it is, finally we've got. With him and Cotton, finally we've gotten some guys who can play these people's game and play and outplay them. Guys like Vance and Cotton have no respect for these people. Mm-hmm. And it's beautiful. They just go in there and they just chop them up with their lawyerly attitude and vibe, and it's beautiful.
But Kurt, you really exposed some pretty scary stuff in your column. You talk about how 28% of Democrats surveyed said that, yes, America would be better off if Trump was assassinated. And then you said another 28%
said.
Yes. 28%. And then hold on, I'm not done. Kurt, your article is so terrifying, but you say that then another 25% were unsure if America would be better off. So more than 50% of Democrats, of registered Democrats that were surveyed here, are sociopaths. We need to have a conversation about what's going on in the Democrat Party. And it's not just sort of crazy cat ladies. These people are bloodthirsty.
They are. Fortunately, most of them can't do a push-up. So,
apparently shoot straight.
Or shoot straight. I was at Gettysburg this week during my travels through actual America, and I'm the last time the Democrats got uppity, and I'm thinking. I'm thinking, it's not like these guys are going to pull Pickett's charge again, because most of them can't walk that far.
Yeah, let alone charge.
But instead of fixing bayonets, they send some mean tweets. Can you see Harry Sisson going, "Come on, follow me, boys"?
Not really.
Yeah, no.
I think you're okay there.
So,
although I do not underestimate their penchant for inflicting violence for political purposes. I think that's sort of the hallmark of left-wing politics of the last 100 years.
Yeah, they're perfectly happy to find some Oswaldian patsy to do these things. But 28. Think about it. 28% felt comfortable going, "Why, yes, total stranger. I would like to see the president murdered." Yeah. And another 25% is, "Well, let me think on that."
Well, and Kurt, real fast
I
here.
got to run that around in my head a bit before I give you an answer.
We only got about a minute left here, but they will say, "Oh, Trump's an outlier. Trump's an outlier. He riles all this up, and he's Hitler after all." But you make the point. It's like they're already calling J.D. Vance Hitler. They've been calling Ron DeSantis Hitler.
They called Romney.
Basically, yeah. This really is their political agenda at this point.
It is. I'm old enough to remember 2012. Romney's going to put you back in check. Look, if a human puffball like Mitt Romney is literally Hitler, everybody's literally Hitler.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which, by the way, renders Hitler's evil meaningless. That if that's their goal.
Right.
It kind of does. So, it's not like these guys have another move. They get together. Okay, what are we going to do? Call him Hitler? Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah.
They don't have a lot of plays here. But no, it's very scary. And it is, and when they get mechanisms of power like, the Justice Department, it does become a problem.
Right. And the media. And listen, a big point of this column, and I do commend everyone to read it, it's in Town Hall today, Kurt Schlichter's byline, is that the fact that they've been able to disappear this thing, and it's a blip on the radar, barely a blip on the radar, that's pretty scary too. And it's not by accident.
Yeah. No, it is a choice, it is a strategy, and it is a problem. Countries like this don't just exist. They exist because we don't undermine the foundations. And when you undermine the foundations by, this guy's really inconvenient, maybe we should just get some weirdo to incel to murder him. Mm-hmm. That's not exactly promoting the stability of the system.
Kurt, as I was leaving this morning, I saw there were still some dishes in the sink. If you could take care of that, please, I would really appreciate that.
I'll get right on them.
Well, you guys made a bit of a mess last night after I went to bed.
First put some clothes on.
Please put some clothes on. God.
Think of Meredith.
Think of the children. Thank you, Kurt.
Cover myself in a dishwasher.
Would you please let everybody know what a great host I am, though? Did you not have?
Oh my gosh, your steaks last night! Holy!
We had a pretty good ribeye night last night. It was good stuff.
Oh,
good.
Man.
In our undisclosed
it's
bunker.
by me in a way no woman ever has.
It's 6:44. Thanks for calling, Kurt.
Good Lord.
Making sense of your world.
Appreciate what you do. News Talk 105.9 WMAL.
I completely agree with what you're saying.
Making sense of the news.
So Joe Biden is still president of the United States, which is actually, by the way, yet another scandal that should be addressed if we actually had a news media in this country. What in the hell is Joe Biden doing still as the president of the United States? And actually, a more apt question, who really is the president of the United States right now?
That's right.
But they prop him out there for, head of state type functions and stuff. And one such function happened this weekend as the Prime Minister of India was visiting on a state visit.
Poor guy.
Kind of an important thing. India is a very important trading and economic partner out there. If we are to wean our industry from China, which I believe I've reached the point where I believe we should, morally, geopolitically, national security-wise, we should stop manufacturing the things that we're doing in China.
Pakistan.
India is a pretty good solution to continue to have good economic and labor relations and manufacturing, as well as American
You
manufacturing.
might not want to yell at him, in other words.
Anyway,
Yeah.
so here's Joe Biden at this important state visit as our head of state, conducting the program there, saying his words, introducing people, bringing stuff, making things happen. Go, take it away, Joe.
So I want to thank you all for being here. And now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Distinguished guests, the Prime Minister of the Republic of India.
Oh, my God.
I wish you could see it. And I do encourage everyone to look up this video because, I mean, it is angry old man type thing.
Yeah,
and
like.
And it's one of those things, if you've ever worked for a sort of high-level, powerful official in Washington, there are these behind-the-scenes moments, where you get yelled at that nobody ever really sees.
A little short fuse
Yeah,
situation.
and that was like he forgot that the cameras were on.
Right. It's bad enough that he had to say into the, because he can't read his notes. We've seen the notes that they lay out for him.
Right.
Like walk 3 steps, turn to the left.
Yes.
Here's a picture of where you stand. Yep. Here's this, here's
a picture
that.
of the reporter.
So he can't even read the notes that they've given him.
Right.
So it's bad enough that he's forgotten. When it was like, who do I introduce next? And it turns out it's the prime minister, the whole reason he's there.
That's exactly right. Who then walks up behind him.
Yeah.
And you can tell he's sort of comforting him.
Right. Right.
He
Sort of saying,
has
it's
this,
okay, Joe.
Yeah. And again, it's important to note because, we don't have it on screen right now. He looks angry. I mean, Biden looks.
Oh, you can tell.
But I mean.
Now, who am I introducing next? Who's next?
Distinguished guests.
That Irish anger they're always talking about, that charm. There was no hint of a smile or, oh, I'm confused. Anyway, so then the Indian prime minister comes over to him, and there is definitely a, let's pat this old man on the back.
So then Joe overcompensates, as he always does.
Minister of the Republic of India.
By the way, he's from a small country like ours, low population. But he's become a good and decent man, a good friend.
Thank
you.
Well, he's making.
I know.
He's trying to make it.
know.
Yeah, little country over there, just like ours.
Become a decent man.
What does that mean? Become a decent man.
So embarrassing.
But he obviously had to overcompensate and make up for it and do that old Irish charm that Joe Biden has.
Here are the jokes.
Yeah, exactly.
Distinguished.
Who's next?
Honestly, we got to get this guy.
And don't forget, this is one day after Biden had Jill Biden, President Biden had Jill Biden open a cabinet meeting.
Yeah, we'll get to that coming up.